Ready for lunch.
And we are indeed, as you say, ready for lunch, and we are live. So, welcome everyone to Think Young Hidden Inventors in collaboration with Ericsson. I have to admit that today I'm particularly excited about our Q&A session. I'll be speaking with the very man who revolutionized the field of wireless communication. Before I reveal his name to you all, let me just preface that in a world filled with disruptions and challenges, and we're constantly searching to find kind of creative solutions to building a sustainable, secure, and stronger world. And these three words, I think, really define very well the guest that we have today. Research and innovation are key to finding responses to the most pressing questions. And today we wanted to inspire young minds across Europe to invent. So to help us with this task, I'm honored to announce as our special guest, the man who laid down the system that we call today Bluetooth wireless technology. I do believe everyone who's listening to us have at least 1, 2, 3, 5 Bluetooth devices. So today, Chief Scientist of Wireless Technologies at Poly, Mr. Jaap Haartsen. Welcome, Jaap.
Thank you, Andrea.
So you are internationally regarded as the father of Bluetooth. Your work can now be found in nearly all gadgets that we use. And I suppose it's safe to say Bluetooth has revolutionized the way our devices communicate. Let me start with a more personal question. When you walk around the street, you spoke before, you said you're in Groningen, and you walk around the street and you see many people with devices that have a Bluetooth connection. How does it feel?
Yeah, well, it's a strange feeling actually, and but also a wonderful feeling. And of course, I'm proud that so many people are enjoying the technology that we started to work on, more than 20 years ago. And although I know the nitty-gritty details and all the challenges we had to overcome, it's still very satisfying to see all the people use it so easily, and also the people got used to it. So it's part of their daily life now.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a great feeling. I mean, I was chatting a bit on social media, and I said, we Think Young in the last 10 years, we met really amazing people, extraordinary, impactful people. It's rare to meet someone who puts something in the pocket of literally everybody. It's quite an achievement. Listen, you always had an interest, in wireless communication through the last 3 decades, I would say. What inspired you to lay the foundation for what we call today Bluetooth?
Yeah, so when we started with this technology, it was actually a completely new concept because what we needed to solve is that we had two devices which were both battery driven, and they should talk to each other wirelessly. And we only knew that what existing was a walkie-talkie, but that were only two devices that talk to each other. And this was millions of devices globally could be able to talk to each other if they had a Bluetooth radio in them. So that's what new, and I knew of a lot of new ideas had to come up to solve that. And actually, I was driven by the use of the radio spectrum, because it had to be a global radio spectrum, because, you use your own device wherever you are on the world. So we needed to use a radio spectrum that can be used worldwide. And you also have to share that with others, not only with other Bluetooth devices, but also other radio technologies that are already in there. And for example, Wi-Fi is also working in the band, Bluetooth is working in. So to do that in the best way, that is actually at the heart of Bluetooth, and that was the things I had to overcome and to solve.
Nice. And for the more technical who are listening to us, you were instrumental to create a group which is called Bluetooth, and I'm reading Bluetooth Special Interest Group, BSIG, in 1998. And that was, and through the campaign we are doing, and I didn't mention it so far, I think people are familiar with it, but basically Think Young and Ericsson are running this campaign on hidden European inventors, people who made our life better and sometimes are not recognized enough. So that's what we are trying to achieve with this campaign. And through the course of this campaign, we did realize that standards are extremely important and instrumental for all the inventors. Now, sometimes we think of inventors like of a kind of a lonely job, which is not like this, but also something you do and everybody somehow adapt. Well, there is a lot of talk and conversation and interest group when it comes to standardization. And can you tell us a bit about the importance of this for you, for your team?
Yeah, well, for, standard is necessary if you want to have multiple vendors make devices that can talk to each other. We call that interoperability. So if you have one company, like for example Apple, they can do what they want. They don't need a standard. They can create their own ecosystem, as we call it. But for a thing like we wanted to have a Bluetooth, where Ericsson was making mobile phones and Toshiba, IBM were making laptops, all different vendors with different devices. They had to come up with the same way of talking to each other. And that's what a standard is actually. So it enables the interoperability between all those devices. And normally those standards are being created by standard bodies like the IEEE in the US or the ETSI 3GPP in Europe. They're making standards for wireless technologies. But we did it differently because we kept it within the companies themselves. So we created a small group and we created the standard ourselves, and we call that an ad hoc standard. So we try by if there are enough companies that are following us and joining us, then you create a critical mass, and then you can put it in standards which you created yourself on the market. And that's
you were a professor at the University of Twente, and when you're a teacher, obviously, I think there is a lot of comes to contact with your students and looking at the next generation capabilities. If you were to say, how did you inspire your students? I mean, apart from obviously when you come in and you say, I'm the inventor of Bluetooth, I think that's inspiring enough. But any particular way you were looking at or treat?
Yeah, well, I like to work with young people because I tell them they are not hindered by experience, so they can really think out of the box without seeing too many hindrances in the beginning. But I also try to teach them how to approach problems. So there may be there may be many solutions for a problem, and what I try to tell them is that you really have to go through all the alternatives that can be a solution, and by dreaming up the different solutions, you will in the end converge to a single one. But you have to go through all these different solutions and alternatives before you get to an optimal one. And that's by giving them inspiring challenges, that teaches them. I teach them how to solve problems, so to say, and that's what inventing does. You solve a problem.
Nice. And I mean, one part of our campaign clearly look at the fact that all the inventors we're looking for are Europeans, and we try to inspire young Europeans to become inventors, and we try to push also the European Union to, as a continent, to promote innovation and inventors, and to make sure that there are more and more inventors in Europe. If from your point of view, from your experience, is Europe pushing innovation enough and inventors enough? Are we doing the right thing as Europe? Or is politics to be blamed for certain things, or what's your take on?
Well, I think there's a lot of innovation in Europe, but if we look at my area, the wireless, things are a little bit changing. So in the beginning, Europe was very strong in mobile telephony. We did the GSM, and then we had UMTS. The second and the third generation of mobile telephony. But already in the fourth generation, LTE, and also with 5G, you see that the players are also coming from another part of the world, mostly Southeast Asia. So because it's not only a regional concept anymore. Earlier we had regional things. We did things differently in the US than we did in Europe or in Asia. But now it's a global thing. So that means that there are also global players. And I think that, in that field, Europe needs to reinvent their place in that, because we have very highly skilled people. And I think there's also a lot of innovation power. But in the end, I think it's about education in Europe. I'm a strong believer in education. So with a strong emphasis on education, accessible to everybody, Europe could regain its leading position again. I think education lifts the entire society. So that's I would say, if you want to put emphasis on something, put it on education.
Nice. We heard it. I mean, a couple of times already through the campaign, but in general, I would say no. I think it's something that it's inspiring as well for the job that we do. Education is still the key and the pillar for everything. And if you really want to move forward, it's in any realm, is definitely education what people should look like. And if from this more general on Europe and innovation, you look more at Bluetooth. No, this year Bluetooth is going to ship more than 4 billion devices just in 2012. And how do you think that Bluetooth is going to help innovation in Europe? I mean, is there anything that it's happening that you see that you think Bluetooth can definitely help support? It's instrumental to some new technologies that are coming out there or that are already present. How do you see this from your special point of view?
Yeah, so I started with Bluetooth in 1994, and then the main application was voice, getting wireless voice from the mobile telephone to a headset. But in those 26 years, I've seen so many different application areas coming along. We are now using it for a mouse, and you can think of a lot of other things. So there are always new application areas that are being invented, so to say, where Bluetooth can play a role. And what I see is nowadays there is a lot of emphasis on medical applications and also helping people with hearing aid problems, for example. And we are quite strong in that in Europe. There are a lot of hearing aid companies in Europe, and especially there, I think Bluetooth will make a difference in the near future.
Nice. And if you look at more, again, the future, but more technology at large or wireless technology at large, and wireless communication somehow, how do you think it's evolving in the next decade?
Well, it's a little bit the same way as we look at mobile telephony from the first generation towards now the fifth generation, is that it started with voice. And then it was more about the humans interacting with the internet, for example. But what we now see is that machines are going to interact with each other. We see connected cars. We see industrial automation. So we see all kind of different application areas where wireless is also being applied. Yeah, because you get rid of the cables, and that was also the whole idea with Bluetooth. So you see that in general in the wireless world that they more and more solve problems where cables were a problem, and they come also with new application areas, and like the connected car and the autonomous driving, etc.
I see. Before we go on, one thing that I usually remind to people who are watching us, you will be allowed to ask questions in about 4 or 5 minutes. So if there are questions, please just type it in the platform you're using, whether you're on YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook. Just type your question with your account, and then we will put forward questions to Jaap. I think if we look, there are a couple of things. Maybe later I'll ask you also about your company's project, because I think that's something that people are interested in, and I definitely wanted to ask you. But before, today, I mean, obviously there is, COVID-19 and the pandemic. I think it's something that everybody is definitely very concerned with, and it's a topic, that many people are looking to find solution. People are talking about vaccine, and that might come, in spring or in the summer. We don't know yet, but there is definitely one solution that it's proving to be effective, which is tracers. There are, this app that we can download, and they can inform us in case we've been in contact with someone. And Bluetooth is key for this. I mean, without Bluetooth, this wouldn't be possible in a safe and a secure way. I mean, obviously, I think there are two things. The first one, personally, how do you feel about it somehow? I mean, again, the technology you created a few years ago now, it's really helping the entire world during the pandemic. And do you think Bluetooth is the most, let's say, effective way to trace somehow people, and the most suitable in these kind of cases? Technology.
Sorry. So I see it as it's one way of tracking, and Bluetooth was not built for tracking, because actually we didn't want people to be able to track people with Bluetooth in there. So it was an thing not done. But On the other hand, Bluetooth is available in the phone, so it's actually the best we have at the moment. Everybody has a phone, so everybody has a way that tracing is possible. And as a extra benefit, it's a relative thing. So it's not based on absolute location. It's about how people relative with regard to you are moving each other with respect to each other, and it can be used indoor. So all those things you cannot do, for example, with GPS. So people are concerned about privacy, about revealing their location, but that's not necessary with Bluetooth. And Bluetooth is based on radio, and radio is not very accurate to determine distances, depending on how you do it. And we are doing now large-scale tests. I also have downloaded the app in my phone. And it's too early to tell actually at the moment whether Bluetooth will make a big difference in this getting down the impact of the pandemic. But of course, I hope it does, and I'm looking forward to the results, what we get with the tracing, whether it will really help.
Thanks. And I think now we open a bit the question to the public. So if I kindly ask my team to put forward the first one. And in the meantime, talking about Bluetooth, I had a little Bluetooth issue. I solved it with the old wired, but I think one thing I never thought about, actually, Bluetooth make it even sustainable in the sense that you're cutting the wire. I mean, you're definitely eliminating a lot of waste, Yeah. So it's probably something, again, maybe you were not thinking about it back then, but today where, environment and it's very much up in the mind of young people. I think Bluetooth is definitely good. But anyhow, first question from Facebook, and this is Millie Lake. As Bluetooth becomes an important part of so many different technologies and devices, what's the most exciting thing that has come out of Bluetooth for you? What's the thing that you say, oh, that's really cool?
Yeah, okay. Well, I have one favorite thing, and that's stereo music. Because when I designed it, it was for voice. We talk wirelessly with the phone. But a few years later, we created also a way of streaming Bluetooth stereo music. And I have a sauna now where I can even stream music via Bluetooth to its speakers. So yeah, that's a very nice thing to have, to be able to stream audio wherever I want with my headset, or to my car, to my sauna, whatever.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I think entertainment at the end, it's such a music as well, key part of our life. I think it's what mainly people really appreciate at the end. Yeah. Question number 2, if I can, I have to read from the side. Anya, why is the technology named after a 10th century Scandinavian king?
Yeah, king, was it? Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know. Okay.
No. Well, the official story is that Bluetooth, he was a Blåtand. He was living in Denmark, and there was a lot of fight between the people from Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, although they were all tribes, so there were no names of these countries yet. And some way he was able to make peace between all those people, all those tribes. That meant that apparently he had good communication skills, because he made people communicate with each other rather than banging their head with a sword. So at a certain moment in time, my Swedish colleague was telling this history of Bluetooth to another colleague at Intel, and Bluetooth came up, and then they thought, well, let's use Bluetooth as a project name for this technology. And actually, it was never intended to be also a marketing name, so that it became known to the world. But in the end, we never came up with a better name. And Bluetooth was apparently good a way of a word that everybody could pronounce, from Asia to US to Europe. And therefore it stayed, and it remained because of lack of a better name.
Well, I mean, I think it's as usually history, it plays a nice thing to hear and to know, definitely. I mean, I'm sure many of our people listening to us today, they're probably gonna come out and use this trick to impress their friends or whoever they feel like impressing with this story. Question number 3, Angelina Moreau, I don't know, but anyhow, from Facebook. As a young person, I feel I do not have the ability to create such a wonderful innovation. Do you have any tips on how I can become more confident in my abilities?
Oh, yeah, that's a question. Want to become more confident,
But
well, first of all, I always say to people, well, as I told also in the broadcast, is education. So know what you're talking about, and start to be an expert in a certain area, and yeah, dive in that area and try to know everything about that area, and then make the next step. So then you have to, of course, then you know your material, and then you must be able to think out of the box and to extrapolate out of the things you know. Because without the knowledge, it's very difficult to create something fresh. So start with the knowledge, and then yeah, for me, I to be innovative, that is something inside me. I always have invented new things, but to be able to do something like Bluetooth, I also have to admit I was there at the right time, at the right place, with the right people around me. So it's also a part of luck, maybe, that you have to have. But yeah, sometimes you can steer your luck. So, and as I said, start with the knowledge you build up yourself, from which you can build and extrapolate to new things.
thanks. No, very nice answer. And again, you mentioned the team. I think this is something we are hearing more and more. You know, that sometimes inventors are seen as kind of, one individual, one man or one woman, in their own room and trying to come up with solution. A bit of crazy. But that's the more we listen to all of you guys, the more we definitely understand it's a teamwork. And that's totally nice to hear. This one from LinkedIn, Daniel Massales. When you were studying at university, did you ever believe that you would ever invent something so revolutionary? What boosted your drive to invent?
Yeah, okay, so the answer is no. I never would have thought I would get to such a revolutionary technology, but I was very driven because I like to, I did electrical engineering at Delft University, and I was very driven, and I like to work with technology and new things. So actually, I was in a project with a company that later became Wi-Fi, actually, and my first patent, which I wrote together with those people, was already at the university. So apparently, yeah, invention and making inventions was something already inside me. But yeah, to think that I would ever create a technology that would be used by billions of people, I would not have dreamt that. No.
No, I give a couple more questions and then I ask you to reveal what you guys are working on at Poly. Francesco from Facebook, if you had a magic wand, is there anything you would change in the evolution of Bluetooth so far and its related applications? And what about the future? So is there anything you would change?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's always a difficult question, because if I would admit that, I would say, well, I did something wrong that I would have changed. And apparently,
we're too grateful.
yeah, well, the point was that I did a lot of work in my head and on paper and in computers, and I simulated a lot of things, but I could never expect what that would do in the field. So when millions of people are using it, when they're standing close to each other, how would that all work? And apparently, I was aware of that there should be a lot of interference, so that I made all kind of means that that the system could cope with that. And after 25 years, yeah, I was right that the things I brought in, they were able to cope with that. So yeah, having a magic wand to change something, I would be very hesitant to. I would not know by now at the moment. What about the future? As I said, Bluetooth is still evolving. This Bluetooth special interest group, that all companies come together and they still write new specifications, and it's all about new application areas. And well, the most near application area, as I see it, is in the medical and the hearing aid world, where Bluetooth is also being applied.
last question from our viewers. Chris Reichert. Great discussion. Thanks so much. You're welcome, Chris. This is nice because it's about kids. My 7-year-old son has very innovative capabilities. I often think that he will be a future inventor to make the world better. What can I do as a parent to support and guide him in the right direction?
Yeah, okay. Well, as a young boy, I never took anything for granted. I always asked why, and people got fed up with that, and then they said, "Why?" Well, because I say so. Well, as a parent, I would say never say that to your child. Try to lead him to respond and explain the question he has, but do not send him away with say because I say so.
Now that's totally to knock down. And well, before we are heading towards the end, and I promised that I would have asked you some insights on what you guys are working at Poly, and first of all, you have one of the coolest title ever because chief scientist. I think it's really definitely something I like to have on my business card. But you guys at Poly, can you give us an insight on what you're working on? Any new revolutionary technology maybe that we're gonna all use in
yeah, well, of course, I cannot reveal that, but Poly is making stereo headsets for call centers, for use at home, for professional headsets for professional people. And what I'm working still on is looking at radio technology, where a lot of people are sitting in the same area and all the things are interacting with each other. And I'm trying to optimize that, to come up with new features that even there the performance gets better, that the people have a better audio quality, that they have shorter time to wait for data transfers. So it is a continuous improvement work to make the product better. And there is not, of course, I do the inventions there as well, but that there are
we invite eventually whoever is interested to apply for Poly. Before we close, let me first of all thank you because as I said at the beginning, it's been extremely exciting for our team to get to know you, to get in contact with you, see how open you were to this and how available, and really it's something I think also as a teaching for many who are listening. The people like you really change the life of many, are usually the most available and humble that we usually meet, and that's that. Dankjewel, if I can say it in Dutch. The second part is a little promotion in the sense that we're going to have the last Q&A next Thursday, and that's quite an important one because we are moving over to involving one of the vice president of Ericsson, who's is going to be speaking and having a Q&A together with Commissioner Maria Gabriel. So that's definitely important from linking again innovation, companies, and politics. That's something that it's going to be very, very interesting for us to see, and that's next Thursday at 10 a.m. on this platform. And that's it. Would you have a last message to inspire young people to become an inventor or to be more innovative, or what would be your closing remarks in this, your last elevator pitch?
Yeah, okay. Well, stay curious about the world around you.
And with those magic words and the note on curiosity, which we all stressed the importance of. Jaap, thank you very, very much. It was really, as usual, a great pleasure to speak with you. And thank you for being so available and so open with us. And to everybody who watched us, I hope you enjoyed. And you'll find the video on the platform later on. And see you next week for the final Q&A of the Hidden Inventors campaign. Thank you very much.
Thank you.